Hi everyone, welcome back to my special massive coding live stream that I'm doing today. This is the fourth session that I've done today, so I'm getting a little bit tired, but I'm going to push on. We're going to finish this session at least, and then I'll probably have to come back to this another day. Okay, so those of you who are just joining me now, you might want to catch up later. So you can do that on my YouTube channel, The Data Wrangler. Check out playlists. Check out Coding Livestream, React Outliner. You can see the first three sessions that I've live streamed today are uploaded already. No editing, they've just gone straight up. So you get to see the real deal, what's happening as I'm coding it. The project that we're developing is an outliner component for React. The code repository for it is already on my GitHub account, so check out Ashley Davis on GitHub, check out React Outliner. There's some documentation yet to come in between live streams. It's already published on NPM, so you can find React Outliner on the NPM package repository. It's at the moment it's just a stub, so we haven't even published most of the work that's been done today. I'm going to publish that hopefully in a moment once I finish the drag and drop code. Let's have a quick look at where we're at. I created a bunch of milestones for today. We completed milestone 1, 2. We more or less completed milestone 3, but I didn't get around to being able to automatically focus a newly created note in our outliner. That's something I put that in the to hard basket, and that's something I'm going to come back to. But we did get to milestone 4. We are currently in the middle of adding drag and drop to arrange the list in our outliner. Let me show you what that looks like. So we're using React Beautiful drag and drop, and we can drag and drop our notes around in the list. Now it doesn't save it. See, I can move note 1, I can move it down, but it goes back to the way it was. So we're only half finished. We're going to continue that implementation now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and fix my tests. So putting this code in there has broken all my tests. And my tests were really fragile anyway. So I need to kind of do some more work on my tests and make sure that they work. Where's the code? So here I am in Visual Studio Code. To get this working, so I'll just show you, I'm working with, where is it? React Beautiful drag and drop. Here it is on GitHub. It's from Atlassian. It's a really cool thing. It's got a great storybook here where you can actually kind of play with it and get an idea of how it works. I opened up this online sort of code. Looks like I've actually broken it. I might have mistyped something here. There we go, cool. So this is like an online playground, basically. What are we looking at? Sandbox.io that shows you the code to how to get this drag and drop working. And I kind of know what I'm doing here, but it's kind of complicated. It's kind of tricky. So I have been basically copying across the structure here into my own code here to get it working. So you can see I've got a drag and drop context. I've got like a place where items can be dropped. I've got the actual draggable item. So this is the actual thing that I'm dragging. I'm brought across their code, so I'm using functions that that's come across from their code. It doesn't really fit my style, but for me the important point is to kind of get this working as quickly as possible, and that means I'm not going off the beaten track here. I'm getting it working how their example works. Once it's working, I can commit it. I can get it into GitHub, so I know that I'm not gonna lose this work that I've done. And then I can focus on refactoring it, sort of getting it into my own style and getting it set up the way that I want. Now, the main thing that I'm missing here is I'm missing the actual handler for on drag end. So I need to put some code in here that is going to basically commit the change of the drag and drop. Now, I'm just going to do it in line here. I could create a separate function, but I'll probably refactor that later. So I'm going to go back to the example here and see how their implementation of on drag end works, because it's basically what I want. That's basically all I need. So there's some sort of result there. Now I'm working in TypeScript, not JavaScript, so I need to type this. So I'm going to put the AnyType on. I'd like to come back later and get the typing for all these kind of draggable parts of this working properly. But that's something I can do later. I haven't actually, between live streams actually, I installed the type definitions for React Beautiful drag and drop. So I do have those, and I will be able to get them in shortly, hopefully. In fact, I'm just going to put that on my cleanup here. So use correct typing or types for React Beautiful drag and drop. So that's something I'll come back to soon. Now, that's here we go. I'm just going to copy everything that's in there. So if it was dragged outside of the list here, we get out early. I mean, I was just looking at the comment here to determine that. But I'll put a comment here as well just to make sure I remember that's what this is for. Now it's got this reorder function. This is what's going to do some kind of like list splicing. That comes from their code, I imagine. So let me see if I can find that. Yeah, I've got a. Now again, I'm just copying code over. I want to see this thing working, and then I'm going to refactor however I need to refactor to make this, you know, better fit my style and the way I want this to work, which isn't necessarily the way they want it to work. So we've got we're reordering here a list of notes. So I'm going to type this properly according to TypeScript. I've got a start index, which is a number. I've got an index, which is a number. I'm going to. I'm not going to type the return value. I'll just let it infer that. So we're using splice here to remove the element, and we're using splice again to splice it back into the list. So I'm reordering the notes, not the items. I'm using the variables they've provided in this result that's coming through, which I'll type correctly later. And I'm setting the state of the items back. I'll call that notes, because that's actually what's being reordered here, is the notes. Now, if I've done this correctly and there's no errors in my code, that means I can now drag and drop rearrange this list, and it's going to preserve the result in the state of my component. So let's go back to the test bed. I'll just make sure it's refreshed, and we'll see if this works. So I'm going to drag note 1 down to beneath note 3. Ah, so it stayed. Sweet. Can I put it in the middle? Yep. Can I put it back to the top? Sweet. So at this point here, I have drag and drop working. My tests are going to be badly broken because of the way I've changed the structure of my code. I want to get this committed because I don't want to risk losing this code. Even though my tests are broken, I don't want to risk losing this code. So normally it would probably be better to fix your tests first. I'm just doing a quick double check here of the changes that are going in. But I'm just going to stage it. So I'm just going to stage it for now while I fix my tests. So I think that'll be the good next step, actually, rather than committing that. I will have to commit that soon. But for now, I want to get my tests running. So I'm going to run my tests in live reload mode. And I'm expecting pretty much every test to fail. So yeah, 5 failed out of 5 tests, and I know immediately some of the reason why these are failing and why they're no longer working. One is that my tests are really fragile; they're really brittle, because you can see here that I'm checking the updated HTML after each test, and that's, the HTML is going to change a lot as this component evolves, and so these tests are going to break. I'm new to working with Enzyme, so Enzyme is the library I'm working with here to kind of do my testing under Jest, and this is the best thing I could come up with. But over my break before, I thought of a better way of doing this. One thing I have to do before I do that is just set my default. I have to set a couple of things back to the way they were. So the default note is an empty note, and I had some test data here set up just to make it easy to get into. I'll set that back to the default note. So that, if it wasn't for the drag and drop, that would make my tests all work. But because of all the HTML that's been added for the drag and drop, you can see these massive errors here that show you that the HTML is all different to what it should be. So I'm going to start with just one test and try and get one test working. Can add one note. I'll try and get that. So I add the only function here. So I only want to work with this one test. I'm focusing myself on just this one test now. I'm not going to be distracted by all the failures from the other tests. And hopefully once I get this one test working, so you can see I've got one failed test. I've got 4 that I've skipped. And it's telling me what's wrong here. I could literally fix this test by copying this massive string of HTML across and having my expectation based on that. But that's really quite dodgy. So I'm not gonna use that. What I want to do here is I want to check. What I want to check here is that a note has been added. So I'm gonna expect that my element that I can find. I already have a class on my note. If we have a look in the HTML or the JSX just here, where is it? Somewhere here. You can see that I have the note class on the div that implements the actual note. So that's what I'm going to search for here. I'm going to find that in the element. And then I'm going to check, I want to check how many of those there are. I don't actually know how to do that with Enzyme. So I'm going to bodge my way through this, maybe without looking at the docs, but if I can't figure this out, I'll have to look at the docs. I'm just going to console log the result of this element.find and see what that gives me. I might see immediately what I get from that. Something, I might see something that I can use. Not really, it's just printing out the shell wrapper thing, so that's not helpful. Okay, let's try using Visual Studio Code, Intellisense. So Intellisense basically gives me this list here of everything that I can do, which is fantastic. One of the great things about using Visual Studio Code and having static types, which I do because I'm using TypeScript. So this does actually work for if you're working in JavaScript as well, but I think even then, I think it depends on you having the TypeScript types installed. So I kind of want to see how many of these things there are. I'm looking for like a count or a length. There we go, length. So it's just I should have known that. It's just the usual JavaScript length. I think this is the thing that I want to test. This is all I really want to test. So let's just see what I get from that. Oh, it's printing out 0 items. So that's not what I expected. I'm going to look at what debug prints out. I'll print out debug. See what that prints out. I want to see what the structure of this element is that I've got back, and I don't think it's anything. I'm going to scroll down and look at one of my tests that I did earlier, because I did this kind of thing here where I'd said, find a note, get the first note back, and that worked. So that's the kind of thing that I'm aiming at now. But I just want to look at all the notes. I'm gonna do console.log on the whole element starting at the root. Console.log the debug of that. This is a lot more complicated than I thought, and it's due to the way the drag and drop works. Because we're nesting in a function here, what I'm going to have to do here, now the shallow version of Enzyme, which you can see that I'm doing here, doesn't instantiate children like this droppable and this draggable. So I'm going to have to now kind of actually use the non-shallow version of this. I can't even remember what it's called, but I do have my enzyme docs open here. So you've got the docs here for the shallow rendering. That's what I've been using so far. What I need now is full DOM rendering. So I need this mount function. That's what I'm looking for instead of the shallow function. So let's try that and see if I get what I'm looking for. Now let's see what my debug prints. Try that again. Not what I expected. It looks like you called mount without a global document being loaded. What does that mean? Let's have a look back at the docs. This is a new one. As I said, I'm quite new to using enzyme. So let's find out what that error message means. Stack Overflow is usually a good option, so let's see what Stack Overflow has to say about it. So I have to use the JS DOM npm module to create a DOM. Oh, this is more than more difficulty than I was expecting to get into here. So it's not as easy as I had hoped. I'm going to put that back. It's not as easy as I'd hoped to get this working with the drag and drop code, which is a bit of a problem. And it's because this, it's got these functions here that are only called. They're only called when these children are instantiated. So I would have to use that mount function to create a complete copy of the DOM. I'm wondering if there's some other way to refactor this so that I don't need to do that. I suppose I could refactor this bit out to a component and test that component separately. But that's going to require more. Yeah, I think that's more trouble than it's worth as well. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to draw this to a conclusion. I'm going to put some test data back in here just so that you get this nice little example off the get-go. So where we're leaving it is we can do drag and drop to move these things around. My tests have been broken and I'm not sure whether I really want to go to the full extent of creating a virtual DOM for testing this thing at the moment. I'm not sure I want to go to that level of complexity to get this thing under automated tests. So I'm going to have to think about that, and that's going to come later. What I will do now is I will commit this. So I have implemented drag and drop to reorder the list of notes. I'll commit that. I will push that. I'm going to publish a new version as well on NPM so that we actually have something there that can be installed in other projects. To do that, I've already published version 0.0.1, so now I'm going to publish 0.0.2. That is accomplished by running npm publish. Oops, I just realized I have all my tests are going to be broken anyway. So I honestly can't even publish this because my build process runs the tests. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the tests from my build process temporarily just so I can publish this. So I've got it under, where is it? Pre-test, pre-publish. So I'm running my tests here under pre-publish. I'm not going to commit this code because I want to reestablish this pipeline again in the future. So now I'm publishing it, but I'm not running the tests. So the broken tests that are there have not stopped this thing being published. And you can see now, if I go back to the npm package repository, you can see we're up to version 2. So we've got basically the second small increment of this React UI component ready. It's ready there for anyone to try if they want to try it. It doesn't do enough yet. It doesn't do what we intended to do. But I'm running out of creative energy, and I've got to figure out what this problem is. How am I going to deal with these tests in the future? So I'm going to have to go offline now, do a little bit of research. Figure out whether I need to kind of instantiate a full DOM to do my testing now, or whether I can have some other refactoring in there that can basically take the drag and drop out of the equation for the purposes of testing, so I can run these simple, shallow tests on the DOM, on the element hierarchy. Anyway, thanks a lot for joining me today. I will be back again soon. Keep an eye on my Twitter, and I will let you know. Keep an eye on Twitch as well. That will give you the countdown to my next live stream, and I'll see you there. Bye-bye.